let me ask you this question. What is it about our industry that, without going into names or specifics or anything like that,
Right.
what is it that there's so much fucking buffoonery in this industry and so much,
Great verbiage, buffoonery.
you know, there's so much like this, you know, this person is getting paid, this person's stealing, you know, what is it?
Man, it's such a wide dynamic of a reality in this system, right? COVID is still there. The remnants, the aftermath, the pebble in the pond with the ripples that go out. It's not just 2019 and the 2020 in March. I remember sitting at Tully's with my owner and co-chef at the time at Tuscarora. I haven't been in the public side of things since Osty's. Tuscarora, Bellevue. I did my own business in between there, and it took a chance with COVID with my best friend, Sean McCabe, who just recently passed away.
Yeah.
God rest his soul. Great guy.
Sean was a great guy.
Yeah, if I could be half as good as a man as him, I'll be happy in my life.
Yeah.
So basically, I think it's this. Everybody that owns a fucking business is hospitality, whether it's a doctor, it's a lawyer, it's a restaurant, anything. So we're losing sight of what hospitality is. First of all, the fucking customer isn't always right. All right, I'm just going to say that. You know, just because you're buying my shrimp scampi that, you know, this guy does it this way or this person does it classic style where you got to suck up the broth with a piece of bread. I don't like that type of scampi. All right, my family's Italian and Irish, and you know, it doesn't matter to me. I'm classically trained in French and Italian. Hans Lazardi is one of my great chefs. Dante's, and then Hans from, you know, God, I can't even think of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Jesus, he's French.
I don't know the restaurant, but I know that name.
Yeah, Lador.
Yeah,
There we go.
yeah.
So his theory is this. So when you got a guy that's from France and he says if a sauce doesn't hold the spoon, it's a broth. So that's true, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, ever since then, it's stuck with me. Like, I hate going to Italian restaurants, mom and pops. And it's not that because I don't like their food. It's because it's just my theory and philosophy on that is translated from, you know, when I was apprenticing from 19, 20 years old, when I realized that college wasn't going to work out. There was family issues. Not that I wasn't book smart, but I'm dumb, but I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
So I started apprenticing, and I realized that I wanted to go to culinary school. I wanted to go to CIA or J-Dub, and back then it was $75,000 a year.
Damn.
So you're coming out with a glorified line cook piece of paper, making $14, $13 an hour, $150,000 to $200,000 education. Now that would transcend and proceed as you go on through your career up the rungs, right? But the buffoonery is this. Everybody that owns a restaurant, like I said, is in hospitality or any business. So it's whose dick's bigger, whose product's better. When we were kids growing up, you know, my mom told me stories about Dominic's, and God rest his soul, and that restaurant, because that was an eatery for 60 years, and it started out as like a one-bedroom shack, like two people getting married, and you can't afford anything. And as they progressed, the restaurant kept getting bigger and bigger. The prep kitchen went in the basement. And the Tassone family is brilliant when it comes to that stuff, that food, that style. But if you don't remember, a fucking chicken parm was as big as a Frisbee.
Yeah.
You ate it for 3 meals. And listen, I'm skinny, but I'm a fat kid in this skinny thing. I can eat. And I just remember my mother saying when they first opened, when she was in her, you know, mid-20s, early 30s, whatever, that the food was amazing. And as it, you know, as you progress and you get bigger and bigger, the food becomes a factory. So the love for the care and love for the product kind of slims down. Not saying that they didn't care about their food or love it, but now you're doing 600 covers on a Friday instead of 200. So if you don't have the correct staff to do the buffoonery correctly, you slip, whether it's from the bartender, the hostess, and I always say this, it's not about the chef, it's not about the damn owner. If the most two important people in the fucking restaurant is the hostess and the dishwasher. Because if the hostess oversees the floor, I got 30 tickets in front of me, and I hate to say this, sometimes the quality of food slips a little bit because you're on a time frame in your head. All right, this ticket's been at 25 minutes, great. Now, my theory and philosophy is I'll make them wait. I don't care if it's an extra 15 minutes. You're going to get your food and you're going to be happy about it instead of you're already miserable because you waited, right? You're already miserable half the time because you waited to get sat, and now the servers can't keep up to you. It's all in time. It's all in regiment, right? And so the buffoonery comes back to this, is whose dick's bigger, whose food's better, whose service is better, who does the better signature cocktails. Chefs are dogs. We will piss on your fire hydrant, whether you're my best friend or not, and look at you in your eyes while doing it. Like, what are you going to do about this, right? And it's true. We're highly competitive, and that's where it is. And so when you have when you have a microbrewery and you have a microbrewery that does so much volume and money in business, or a chain, prime example, all chains started out as freestanding restaurants, right? Yeah. Somebody just came in and said, oh, you got 7 of them. We're going to give you $100 million for them. Look at Carol's. Yeah. Carol's gave the biggest FU to Burger King ever. Carol's, if people don't know the history, they started out small, just like McDonald's, just like Burger King, just like all the other micro little Burger Kings and kings of the burger. And eventually Burger King bought them out. So they got paid then.
Yeah.
Carol's then returned in profit-wise and smartness, bought into the franchises, had the biggest owner stake of franchises in Burger King history, and just got paid 1 point whatever billion.
Yeah.
So they said, hey, the money you just paid us, we're going to buy your franchises. We're going to profit whatever that fucking profit margin is, which is like 75% at every fast food place. It's ridiculously disgusting.
Yeah.
And ridiculously delicious sometimes on things. I love Big Macs, bro. You can't tell me nothing. So that's what it is. And then they just sold again, so they triple dipped. So they for 60 years of Burger King, whatever 50, the franchise money that they made every year off every profit margin of every dollar, they got paid. They fuck you, Burger King. I just got paid 3 times in my lifetime. That's generational wealth that we'll never see. And that was the smartest thing you can do. You get bought out, you're like, fuck it, I'm going to buy into your company now. So that's the buffoonery. In a nutshell, that's what you boil it down to. Who's got the best chicken parm? Who cares? Do you deep fry it or do you pan fry it? Do you use panko or you use an Italian bread that's 2 days old that you took off the table and you blitz it down? Like nobody wants to hear that, but that's what it was. You know, like when your profit margin at a regular restaurant, a high-end restaurant makes 5 to 7, maybe 8% profit margin, right? Unless you're Gordon Ramsay and you're charging $700 for a 7-course tasting menu, $300 more for the 4-ounce pour for each course. Now you're at $1,000 a piece per person.
Yeah.
If you ever read his biography, that's after his second year, his wife bought him a Ferrari.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like that's nuts, right? So that's not going to be me ever, but I mean, I got a little RC Ferrari, I can hope and dreams and put myself in there like a little Indian in the cupboard style like kid, That was one of my favorite movies as a kid. But that's the buffoonery. Instead of lifting each other up, the competitive nature of any human being in any situation, whether it's a Neanderthal trying to club some dude in the head to get his hotter wife. That's all it is. It's a competitive nature in humans. The masculinity, femininity, whatever you want to say it is, like, you can go down the line. Since SU was started with the city, the connective corridor process 17 years ago, right? It took 3-4 years to get it finalized, which I ain't got anything else in fucking Syracuse. 81's been on fucking rebuild state since before I was born. I was in my dad's, sack.
Yeah.
So it's a process. And so when you start looking at it, I thought, and I still think this today a lot, the theory was Syracuse, northwest of New York City, Manhattan. You can't even talk about the slum wards of Jersey, you know what I mean? Because they're the same thing as us. There's some high-end restaurants, but there's no Michelin stars, I don't think, in Jersey anymore. There was 1 or 2 at one point. We're 5 years, 7 years behind.
Yeah.
That's not relatively true. I was doing gastronomy 15 years ago when it started getting big. There was no market here. People didn't know what fucking caviar beads were. They're looking at, you make it with agar, and you do that with the cold oil, you make caviar beads, right? And so I was always reading up on the times of what was going down in New York City. YouTube has influenced a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to have to go train under a chef for 6, 7, 9 months to learn how to make real pasta. Now I can go on fucking YouTube, fuck it up 10 times until I get it right because, books. I have the CIA book from like 2001. It's got pictures, but it don't tell you how to meet it right. It doesn't tell you how to proof it right. You can't touch it. You can't feel it. So that's the reality of the situation. Syracuse was on a renaissance verge in my mind 15, 16 years ago. They started having like little pop-up restaurants that were small and intimate like you see in New York City, like you see in Manhattan. Like there's fucking 10 million people there.
Yeah.
There's like 7,000 restaurants.
Yeah.
It's a lot, for that little square mileage of property, right?
So you just said something interesting about like the Syracuse maybe not being 5-7 years behind.
I don't think
New York
so
City
anymore. St. Urban before he left.
Yeah.
Oh, did you stop? Oh,
No. So I switched camera angles.
Oh, okay.
So that way I don't have to edit later.
Right, okay,
besides
cool.
our first 6 minutes. So, but let me ask you this: so do you think the restaurant scene is behind the times based on what the based on what the chef is doing or what the market, what the customers will accept?
All right.
Because like you just said, 16, 17 years ago, you had all these small pop-ups. Like you were, you were doing your interesting shit. But if the consumer base is like, hey, fuck you, I want that cheeseburger with the maple syrup.
Right. And so here's the other philosophy that I have. Here's my theory and philosophy on food in general, right? You guys are all gonna laugh at me. I'm a retard. I'm a ding dong, whatever. But this is how I view things. If I kill an animal, I fish. I used to hunt, right? That was like the rite of passage in our family, going hunting with the men, going out into the woods, camaraderie, brotherhood. My extended family was not extended; it was nuclear. Now it's different. With there's only two of us at my age. That is like 40. I'm 42, so my cousin Ross, he's like 37, 38, I think, and then everybody else is in their 50s, and then everybody else is in their late 20s, early 30s. So I was a whoops, what the fuck, baby. My mom was 36, my dad was 48. So they were getting ready to, my brother is 17 years my senior. So that's what it is, right? So when you look at it, I don't know if it's the demographic has changed. I mean, dynamically, yes. We have Syracuse University. There's 20,000 people on that campus every given 8 months of the year. You got Lemoyne at probably 5 to 10. Kaz is done now. But, growing up, the Food Network was just taking off when my career was just really starting. And so now you have these, as you said earlier, you have these typewriter keyboard warriors that think they know a lot about food because they watch the Food Network. They watch the shows. Maybe they read magazines, the Food and Wine, whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
So the relativity of what food has become in our city alone is astronomical. It's up a millionfold in my mind. You got restaurants like Le Mange. That lady is doing stuff with food down there, and it's not like crazy new age. She's killing it. When she went from the smaller version on Fayette Street over to the old Lemongrass, she's crushing it. She does plate presentations that nobody's doing around town. Like, I mean, her shrimp skewer, whatever, and then she flambés it, whatever. It's nothing that's never been done, but it's never was done here. Per se.
I'm gonna be more honest in this episode.
No, go ahead. Because I'll be honest too. I mean, I don't discriminate against any restaurant. I don't condone talking shit about other restaurateurs because you know what's funny? Not that I don't condone it, because you can be reality with it and be like, hey man, I didn't have a good meal that day. Yeah. Maybe I had bad service. Maybe the chef was having a bad day. Maybe he got sick. They don't have somebody. That's the problem in this town is
for sure.
Owners, proprietors. Now there's not everybody, but that's changed dramatically too, of paying people what it's worth. Now when fucking COVID happened, you got a dishwasher that was making $13 an hour. Now he's making 20. All right. So it's really the relativity of how are we going to line our pockets as a proprietor owner? Are we going to give up 20% of our gross profits? If I take a paycheck for $100,000 a year out of my business, I'm working, it's none of your business what I do with that money. So if you profit $300,000, what's 75 grand to you?
Right.
You made 275, right? So it's really the greed point.
Yeah.
Are we going to pay an executive chef, which don't get me started on that. There's chef de cuisines, there's executive chefs, there's, sous chefs, executive. There's not a lot of executive chefs in this city because it's not a real price point for and place to do it. Mm-hmm. Syracuse University, Lemoyne, some of the country clubs that have 50 employees underneath you for 9 months under the year, yes. But then you go to a smaller restaurant that you have 10. Mm-hmm. Are you an executive chef there? Are you really doing paperwork? Are you making all the menus? Are you showing the sous chef, executive sous chef, and then chef de cuisine, your menu, your plate presentation, all that? Now, there's terms that get thrown around, right? I mean, whatever. Maybe you are an executive chef. Who gives a shit? That's just a term to me. I'm a cook. Yeah. I love to cook. I just have a title behind me. And usually the chef is the best fucking cook in the restaurant, regardless of age. Because when I was young at 24, 25, when I got my first title as a sous chef at Prime Steakhouse on Geddes, before he moved over into downtown, right? Tommy Petracco was my executive chef. I worked for him for 5 years. Rick Caballero is another a good friend of mine who is a CIA grad. Jay Boyer, CIA grad. Dan Van Gelder, I think his last name, CIA grad. That's when the Marks Hotel started. They had the highest payroll for 4 guys than probably 10 fucking restaurants. But you pay for what you get. You want a Benz? You want a Pontiac Fiero? Depends on what you want. Depends on if you love that 1988 Pontiac Fiero. That's one of my first cars, dude. I fucking hated it and loved it at the same time. But that's what you get for it, and that's not true. There's guys that are in different places in their life. Maybe they had a divorce. Maybe they, had an addiction, or maybe they had a situation in their life that comes up where they were getting paid $100,000, right? And a crisis happens. Foundational cores got broke down. They had a mental relapse. And I'm not just talking about me, because I've had that happen. But I know a ton of people in this industry that were all labeled pirates and misfits. I want to be a real boy. And it's like, yeah, I tried a desk job because I'm like, fuck, I can't be a father. Mm-hmm. I'm working 80 hours a week. And when I was 22 to 30, it didn't matter. Mm-hmm. And then when my son came into the world, it was like, oh, man.
Changes everything.
Listen, I've created a ton of fucking food, a ton of recipes, a ton of stuff that there's no Googling this and then changing it to your own style. We all do it. Who cares? Like, right. I can't remember a fucking creme brulee recipe for a ratio. I'm not a fucking baker. That's exact science, dude. You want the shit to be like this, or do you want it to be flat? So, but that's where chefs and pastry chefs differ too. Chemistry is baking. Cooking is love and soul. And to understand that minute line between the two, and then the guy, I have the biggest utmost respect for pastry chefs that are just like crazy. Like, how do you know to put half an ounce less of this and a quarter of an ounce more of that so that the bread levels, or that it rises correctly? And it's not. You just got to fuck with it. Me, I can make a recipe and be like, oh, that needs more acid, or this needs more heat, or it needs more sugar, or it needs more salt. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, until I get it right. But it's a different level of cooking that I can do all your classic, chocolate torts, your creme brulees, your cheesecakes, your regular basic cakes, but I'm not doing any of that shit you see online with molding and sugaring. No, I've burnt myself way too many times making caramel. And I'm like, this is the easiest thing to fucking make. And I'm like, this is lava on your arm. If you get it on your arm, it does not come off. And if you pull it off, it's even worse. So you got to let it cool. And then you got to pull it off. So your endurance is minimal. 2 minutes, right? You're like, and you're like, and you try to pull it off, and it's like a girl with her eyebrows gone. Your first 7 layers of skin is gone. So that's my take on it, man. It's to answer the question is the buffoonery and all that is, if we united, right, under one banner, like William Wallace. If we united, and that's what I'm saying. There's restaurants. Citronelle was out. Max, he had to pivot. He put lemongrass in there, right? He still owns the old Phantom place for the Banquet. I don't know if he's done finishing and all that. But and then you got the lady that owns the diner up on Westcott Street.
Oh, Mom's.
No, the new
Rise and Shine.
Yeah, she does. I've been there 4 or 5 times.
Yeah,
like that's a New York City. That's a Vegas type feel, right?
Yeah.
She's not doing anything out of the ordinary.
No.
But she's doing it at a high level, and the food is delicious.
Yeah.
We're not Michelin stars, man.
I know that.
Like Syracuse, fuck.
Right.
We won't be alive if a Michelin star comes here. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But there is mom and pop's places that will always survive. Bevo Diner will never die.
Right.
You go there, you get the meatloaf for $13. You shit your brains out for 4 days, but it's delicious. And there's nothing wrong with that. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're talking about highly competitive restaurants, it's hard to not do the buffoonery because we don't have 10 million people. Mm-hmm. We're a 1.5 mile radius, dude, from fucking PJ Dorsey's used to be talking old school style. That's it. It's a mile. Exactly a mile. The Metropolis was 270,000 people. Now it's down to like 200. So everybody's moving out of the city. Hopefully Micron does a bust with that, but there's no apartments really available downtown anymore. They're all full.
Yeah.
And who wants to pay $4,000 a month to live downtown? This ain't Manhattan. I mean, kudos to anybody that does. I don't care if that's your style of living. So what? Who cares? But, they're talking 5,000 people influx. Good luck. City taxes are going to go up. All the little suburb taxes are going to go up because of the influx of money. Yeah.
Elon Musk had something I heard on one of his Rogan podcasts, and that is for every factory job that exists, there's like 3.5 ancillary jobs that have to sustain it.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I think listen, if Micron does officially end up happening, and they bring in 5,000 jobs just for Micron. That's fucking awesome for Central New York.
It'd be great for us, right? You're talking hundreds, maybe billions.
Yeah.
A billion with that many people. The average salary is going to be 65 to 80.
Yeah.
For somebody to sit there and do, I don't call it monkey work, but, you know, it's a little more than just a box factory.
Right.
But, you know, it's great for the community, right? Yes, it is. But that's the ripple effect.
Yeah.
Boom, pond,
yeah.
little pond, big rock. The ripple effect is, $1 billion comes into the community. All these little restaurants might get an influx. They might not.
Yeah.
That's an unspoken rule. You don't know what's going to happen. You can't predict the future. This is a Back to the Future with a cheat sheet book, comic book to make billions like Biff did. So, I mean, what do you, it's all relative in my mind. So what do you do with that, Ant? I don't know. Like, there's no direct answer to that. It's just, like I said, a dog pissing on a fire hydrant, and the fire hydrant's a metaphor for another guy's restaurant.
Yeah.
What do we do? Do you got Francesca's that's just fucking knocking out of the park for 20 fucking years?
Yeah.
Since 2002, right?
Yeah.
I mean, his patio, George is a great guy. He's very smart. The chefs he's had in there are really good. And it's consistently the same anytime you go there. Like, I've probably been there 50 to 100 times in the 20 years it's been open or whatever. And I don't think I can honestly say I've had a terrible meal there where I'm like, I don't want to pay for this.
Right.
It's okay. You know, my version of Marcel is different from theirs. Who cares? It's everybody's. It's just like a
Right.
It's like a pomodoro, marinade sauce, or gravy. Like you can get in an argument about that all day with Italians. Good luck, bro. You better have a case of wine and 10 loaves of bread because somebody's getting hit with a couple bottles and a couple pieces of bread. You know, boom.
I do not view myself, what I do for Eat Local New York, as a critic in any way, shape, or form.
No, I don't see that either. No.
And I don't, and I have purposefully, because I have the Eat Local card where I've got 150 restaurants that I have to like always
cater
make happy.
To, right, yeah.
I purposefully don't ever say anything negative about a restaurant unless, like publicly, like in like a hard post or something
unless
like that.
Unless they come at you.
Well, not even that, because I've got a restaurant owner that just came at me yesterday for over some bullshit that I don't even. But at the end of the day, I'm just like, what am I going to do? Fucking defend myself on Facebook? You know?
Oh, that's like with Syracuse Eats, right? On Facebook.
Yeah.
Listen, I just got Facebook again. Let me tell you something fierce, bro. I hate all you cocksuckers because I didn't know about Facebook Marketplace. I scour that
that's
like
where I
a
got
prostitute at 3 a.m. on James Street. All right, let me tell you, you got this there.
I got this there.
This is nice. Dude.
$200.
Yeah,
guy built it himself in Rome.
Dude, what?
Yeah. $200 for this fucking thing off Facebook Marketplace. Isn't that amazing?
I'll give you $250 for it right now. This would be great in my dining room. I got the chairs to match because I do like an industrial look with metal and stuff. It would go good. But I got away from it because, in my mind, I think social media has distracted us from our family, our friends, the relativity of what life is really meant to be. I love to cook. Listen, I was at Tuscarora. When I left Tuscarora to go open up the kitchen at McCabbin's Pub on Fayette Street, right? My owner, Pete Capicelli, is like, you really want to go cook burgers for somebody? And he wasn't being mean. He was just like asking because he knows my level of commitment to the craft, right? 80 hours a week when I still have a 9 or 10-year-old and I still make time to do stuff at the house. I still make time to go to his soccer games or whatever he's doing. And I can't be at everything. I'm not a 9-to-5 guy. Yeah. And even 9-to-5ers can't make everything, right? So I had to come to that realization that I'm not missing out on everything because he's a gamer. I love the game. As he said, you got the Xbox over there. I might put that in my bag on the way out so he can get a new one. But, you know, I left social media and I kept Instagram for one reason because Instagram, if you follow something, you like something, before the algorithms all got messed up, right? Yeah. I mean, you look at a tennis player and she's attractive. She's got a skirt. Now your shit's showing freaking retard things. You're like, dude, I'm not trying to look at porn on Instagram. Like, what the hell? So, right? There's sites for that. LimeWire crushed my computer a lot when I was a kid. So I'm joking, but I'm serious. So I left it because I realized that I was spending less time talking to my family or friends through message or on phone, and I was commenting on a picture, which is fine. Yeah. But hey, let's meet up. Call me. Nothing ever happens. Yeah. And everybody moves on in their life. Like, you're not going to be this tight-knit community anymore. But I have friends that I haven't seen in 10, 15 years that I've ran into randomly because they're home or I'm I was in South Carolina on a golf trip. I ran into 3 fucking friends that I grew up with. And I'm like, what? This is random.
Yeah.
And then we spent the next 3 days talking. And then we never talked again.
Yeah.
But you can pick up right where you left off. And those, those people are truly, in essence, what relations should be as friends, family, son, father, mother, daughter, husband, wife, whatever. The intimacy of that is gone in my eyes. It really is.
Yeah.
We used to break bread every Sunday at my aunt's house.
Yeah.
Never happens anymore. It's just, like I said, there's only 2 of us that are kind of relative age. And, you know, my mom's up there, 78 years old, so her health isn't that great. But as the cousins, you know, 4 of them, 5, 6 of them aren't in this New York State anymore.
Yeah.
So, you know, but it's relative to me. And so now that I'm back on Facebook, because I just started at Scenic Route after I left Bellevue. I've been there 9 weeks now. And I love it. I was there with Bellacina with Joey DeCuffa. I left there because I just couldn't get paid. You know, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Like, do you want to line your pockets or do you want to take care of the guys that take care of you? Because without good employees, a business is nothing.
Yeah.
So usually a restaurant's run and driven by the food.
Yeah.
First and foremost, like you have a bad plate of food, like bad plate, you're like, this is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Is it because you didn't like research and like read what was on the menu, or was it, you know, overcooked? Was it not done right? Is it not your liking of flavor profile? So that's where I go, well, you ate 3/4 of the fucking dish. If you didn't like it, you wouldn't have eaten it, and I would have replaced it. So you're not right. So now I lose the money on that dish, which is just the food cost, the labor cost, but it's also the percentage that I lost on the profit margin. So I'm getting hit 3 different ways because you didn't read the menu. I've done it, and I'm like, I didn't think this is what it was going to be. And I didn't ask the server, but I still scarfed it down because, hey, as a chef, I don't waste anything. Like I was talking about hunting and fishing, so my theory and philosophy on that to come full circle, because I have ADHD and I'm OCD. So I got one side of the brain that's going a mile a minute, the other one's just so focused on this. That's why I'm a good chef. I can multitask like a son of a bitch. If an animal dies for me, I'm using every ounce of that meat that I can. If I kill it, which I haven't done that in years, I haven't hunted in a long time, my family tricked me into drinking the fucking blood. It's absolutely disgusting. Warm, fucking coagulated blood from a deer is the most rancid shit I've ever tasted in my. And I have a pretty good freaking palate, man. I've been to Africa for 3 weeks, and that was enlightening because it's just a different style of food. And nothing was that terrible there. Let me tell you. And I had some weird shit. I ate monkey brains, like Indiana Jones style. Like, you know, like it didn't look like that, but it was that. So even a piece of vegetable.
Yeah.
I try to use every ounce of it that I can. You know, skins from the onions to make stocks. You know, you can take the celery root off the celery and puree it, and you add some stuff into it. People, you know, the last 4 inches, it's bitter as fuck. But if you grill it and you take that bitterness out of it, or you roast it, or you boil it, and then you put it with parsnip, now you can call it celery root parsnip puree, where most people are throwing that away. I'm not talking about where the, you know, the hard-hearted part is at the very bottom, but there's things that I don't agree with that a lot of people do. And that money adds up. You talk about 52 weeks a year. If you could save $1,000 a week, that's 52 grand.
Yeah, we had a cook at when we first started Through and Fried.
Sorry.
Who, you know, we would like the chicken tenders we would cut down from chicken breast, right? And so I go in one day and I'm in the kitchen and he's prepping the chicken breast for the chicken tenders, and so he's trimming off like some of the excess fat and skin.
Oh, that's perfect flavor.
Yeah, except he's not just trimming it off; he's cutting like a solid inch of meat off with it and throwing it all in the trash.
Oh, I would have flipped my lid.
I'm like, dude, that's a lot of money that you just are throwing out. I was like, is this how you always do it? He was like, yeah. I was like, that needs to change.
After 2 weeks, you just lost 2 cases.
Yeah.
Or a case,
right.
You know, and then you think about it, and like, that's the other thing. COVID's ripple on the fucking pond has happened from drinking the Kool-Aid from our lovely government. Yeah. You know, I have one child. And I lie to him sometimes about dumb shit, right? Can you imagine having 150 million people? Like, you're lying to us, you sons of bitches.
That is such a great fucking analogy.
And
Jesus.
I stole that off a comedian, dude.
Wow.
He's like, I have one son, And I lie to that little motherfucker all the time. So imagine. And I was like, boom, like light bulb, like Thomas Edison blew up style though.
That's
like
amazing.
Ben Franklin with the kite with the fucking key on it. Like that's.
Gotta remember where that is so I can.
I'll send it to you if I can find it. But it's a dude, it's a black dude. He's fucking hilarious.
Cat Williams?
No. I follow him on Instagram. Okay. I'll look him up and I'll send it to you. It's a brilliant comedy skit, dude.
That's pretty funny.
And his delivery on it is perfect.
Yeah. So I was saying earlier, I don't perceive myself as a restaurant critic, food critic in any way, shape, or form, stretch the imagination. I'm not a fucking expert on it.
Right.
I love to eat food, but I am an avid fan of the restaurant scene, of chefs and what they do, and also, and specifically here in Central New York, because that's where I fucking live, where I've spent the last 9 years talking about food and restaurants. Having said that, I look at it like it seems like most of the restaurants in Central New York are pop bands, right?
Yeah.
And when somebody comes along and they're like, "Hey, we're a new band on the scene and we're going to put out a new album," I'm like, "Oh fuck, what are you going to put out?" And then it just turns out to be a different version of a fucking pop band. I don't know many people today in Syracuse, but at the same time, having like. I didn't know who the fuck you were before.
I know, it's crazy, right?
Besides Dad reaching out, or like Dad mentioning you a couple times on the phone, and then sitting here across from you, I'm like, fuck, why didn't I fucking know him earlier?
All right.
So having said that,
yeah, I'll let you finish because I gotta come back to that. So go ahead.
I do miss prior to COVID. Like, yes, not every restaurant needs to be some caviar bubbles, hand-making pasta, right? Some restaurants need to serve fucking greasy, Cisco-bought everything. It's okay. It's a two-man operation. They're there to like pay themselves a decent living, and then that's it. And then there are some restaurants that need to be St. Urban, and there needs to be a whole wide mix of all of these things.
The demographic has to be that way. You can't be that way here like you are in New York City, right? Mm-hmm. The competition in New York City is just way too high.
Right.
Even the diners, they're brazing everything down. So
and you have too many people that you can get as potential customers.
Right. And the competition of going to a better restaurant for a better cook to get better money or benefits, health benefits, which in my line of work, you would know. Your dad did it. Your dad's been a proprietor half of his life, right? They're not there.
No.
So if you look at it as a complete package with a benefit package, now it costs shitty benefits that you literally can't even go see a doctor, but you have health benefits, right? You might as well go to Syracuse Plus or New York City, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's $10,000 for me to pay out of pocket. A restaurant, if they offer it, it's $17,000 for the year because they pay more. As the higher the product goes, as the product is in people, you have more people as a product, the price point goes down, right? It's the same principle in theory when McDonald's buys out Tyson Chicken Farm.
Yeah.
They get it at $2 a pound. I get it at $6.
Yeah.
Because they're locked in, loaded in for 1 billion pounds of chicken. I'm only selling 500 for the year.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true, but you know what I'm saying. So this is where I was going with this. When I made the jump from Tuscarora, we were sitting at Tully's in Fairmount, and Tully's is the same thing. They have, if you didn't notice, they had 3 different levels of the Tully franchise. Tully's, Copper Top's their highest one, and then Good Buddy was the middle, and Good Buddy's now gone. Why would you have a Tully's down the street, Copper Top, and Good Buddy? You're trying to market Camillus. You already did with Tully's and Fairmount.
Yeah.
But so Pete and I got into a debate, and I said, Pete, I don't give a fuck if I cook you a $175 tomahawk prime steak or I cook you a $10 burger. I get off on people enjoying that one bite of anything. That is I'm a giver, and I just happen to be stupid but not dumb and really good at cooking. And that's where you said this is how come you've never known or met me, right? I don't go to the cooking competitions that every other clown goes to. I don't give a shit. First of all, it's a Saturday afternoon. I got to cook. I don't have a staff of 20 people when I was younger, and I didn't do Bridge Street, although I've done it 20 times.
Yeah.
I've been in the paper 15 times, just for bad stuff. And highlights of cooking and doing this, Chef Sean Gates. I don't promote myself. I promote my food at a restaurant. I get the recognition when the restaurant's doing 300, 400, 500 covers a night. Like Osty's, when I took over on a Friday, we did 100 covers. 9 months later, we're doing 250. So that's the subject where I'm very sensitive and I get fucking mad at, because coming up, there was like 10 of us that were young guys: Dan Hudson, Jess Moore, myself, Mike Brown, Chance Bear. I mean, the list of those guys, we're all in the same age category, right? We were all like the up and coming new chefs, like behind Chef Hans Lizardi, Chef Kevin Gentili, who owned Gentili's, and Dante was Hans Lizardi. Those two were eclectic Italian. Hans has cooked all over the world. Kevin's cooked all over the United States. You can't get that type of food. Like the thinking outside the fishbowl is what makes you a good chef. I remember when the first time, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. First time I ate Hanzi stuffed calamari. It's real calamari. It's not frozen. It comes in whole. You have to pinch the fucking beak off. I can name 5 chefs that I know that have ever done that in Syracuse. Actually cleaned the scallop that comes in the shell. Most of these cooks don't even know that scallop's a fucking shellfish.
Yeah.
You know, and that to me is disturbing, because with all the knowledge that's out there now, how do you not know if you love this entity? Like, I eat, live, shit, and breathe food in my family. That's it, man. I go out maybe once a week, sometimes not even. I mean, I was supposed to come on last week. I couldn't. I was sick.
Yeah.
I had my allergies are terrible. It started in my head, went in my chest. I had bronchitis. Thanks for understanding, because I still would have came in here, but I'd have been like, no, we're going to wrap this thing in fucking cellophane because it's going to be hacked up on. But so that's the relativity. When I left there in COVID, I was making $4,000 to $5,000 a week profit at a bar that hadn't done food in 15, 17 years, because everybody was pinned up like a chicken coop for 3 months, and it was just insanely balls to the wall. Then you had Mario Homo the Cuomo sitting down there on his iron throne that's 450 miles away, dictating and delegating what we're doing up here. Now, I'm not knocking COVID. I know COVID has killed people. I know the relativity to it. I know the numbers. I also know 17,000 written, documented essays and theses on doctors that don't believe in it.
Yeah.
Why is it locked away for 75 years? We'll all be dead. Who gives a shit?
All right.
Was it real? Yes. Was it man-made? I don't fucking know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't give a shit about it. I do, because it affected my life directly. I lost my business.
Yeah.
The industry that we love and cherish lost staple restaurants across the entire world that have been in business. I think there was a restaurant in Europe that was open for 150 years. It's dead. Yeah. It's gone. Sean's Irish Pub. No knocking. That's my name. The oldest pub in Ireland almost closed.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is real. This is real shit. And people are dying by the masses, whether it's disease-stricken or not, which it was. And then you have the healthcare industry that's labeling somebody that died from pancreatic cancer as COVID because they were getting money for it. It's all documented. Go read it. Yeah. You guys are all stupid if you don't. When I was a kid, Google came out. You could Google directly, I want this fucking stupid little coaster thing, and it would pop right up, your top 5. Now you got to scroll through 50 pages because it's all algorithmed out. They have 5,000 pieces of data on every single human being in the world. That's a ridiculous amount of money and energy to put into something, right? And it's the same thing with food, to bring it back. Like, that's why people have lost their businesses. The pop-up little restaurants that you call, and I agree with you on that, it's prom night. It's the first love of your life. The shades are pulled down. You're looking at it, it's great. And then 9 months later, 2 years, the facades ran out. The sparklers are gone. Now you're just looking at an old hag and an old jerk that you've been married to for fucking 50 years. And you're like, I hate you. You know what I mean? And you're like, but it was the best next thing, right? There's tons of restaurants that are like that in Syracuse, but I don't think they're a facade. I think it's helped, like Connective Corridor, the Renaissance, like Syracuse, the amphitheater that got built was huge. I mean, I love the grandstand, don't get me wrong. I have so fond memories of going to concerts there, but it's just like I said with you, I wasn't doing that stuff where people were going to Onondaga Lake to do a cooking competition on Saturday afternoon. I was getting ready to do 500 covers that night with my staff. And I'm not knocking those guys because they had the staff that they could go do that. That's okay. I don't care. The accolades that I want is my legacy is for my son. You know, to know that his dad loves what he does. Yeah. And that's it. And, you know, it doesn't matter to me what people think of me anymore. When I was younger, I used to obsess about it. I used to obsess about the food. Oh, Sean's a great chef, but he's fucking up in his life, whatever. He's going out drinking all the time. Well, what else is it to fucking do at 1 o'clock in the morning when you get done with work, dude? And we're all going out. Everybody's going out. You know, and that's the reality of this. We're all pirates. Everybody, I couldn't do it I mean, I could talk to anybody. You could tell. I'm fine with talking to people. I could sell a Ferrari and make $100,000 paycheck off of it. Money doesn't rule my world anymore. I did when, like, as everybody, when you're younger, materialistic, whatever. My joy comes from the satisfaction of that's the best thing I've ever eaten. Is that relatively true? Who knows? But in that moment for that person, that's relative true.
It reminds me a lot, and I'm gonna have to cut this short as much as I want to stay here for the next fucking 3 hours. I want to have you back like next week or the week after if you can.
Yeah, dude, I'm free. Most days I get up at 6 in the morning with my kid. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. He stays with me half the week. His mother's a great woman. Thank you, Stephanie, for being a good mom to my kid, because I'm gonna cry. Because that is my world, and that's that.
It's crazy how much that changes, dude. I mean, like I said, our son's 18 months.
Yeah.
And
oh, Jesus Christ.
The need, my desire to protect him now and like not share on the world, on the internet, like pictures of him and shit.
Some people are weird like that. Some people aren't. I get it. I get your stance on it.
I have enough haters nowadays that I'm like, I don't want to give anybody ammunition. But
don't tell me you got a kid that got hit with a skateboard. It's ugly. You got an ugly kid. No, dude, every kid's beautiful, man.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just like, I don't, but
I get it.
But it's so crazy how much I've never like a big party or like I'm going to go and hang out until 2 with my restaurant buddies. But even like, hey, honey, I'm going to work until like, listen.
Like right now, you got to get home, whatever you got to do,
like
right?
4:30 to 7:30 every single night. I don't fucking do shit.
I don't blame you, dude. It's the best lifestyle in the world.
Yeah. Now I'll go work after that once he's in bed.
Oh, dude, I'm up till 2 in the morning working.
Yeah. I was here last night and from like, he went to bed at 7:30. I came here and worked until 11, so yeah. I'll do that. And there's so many things I'll get invited to on weekends. I'm like, hey, sorry, no, it's family time. I don't do shit.
Well, that's like for me too. Like family time was non-existent. Yeah. Non-existent. When I was training and apprenticing, when I was, like I said, when I really committed to it, like 2021, I got into a big argument with my Uncle Donnie, who was like my father. God rest his soul, he just passed away. And I could talk for hours on it. My family was huge. Like I said, we used to have family Christmas every year. After Christmas, we'd all rotate a house we'd all go to. Like my family's farmers and workers. There's only 5 of us that went to college.
Yeah.
And now the generational chain, if you want to call it, is breaking. But I tell my son, you don't have to go to college if you don't want.
Yeah.
You can become a carpenter, mechanic, plumber. Those dudes are fucking making bank.
Right.
150 grand a year. Like, come on. If you can handle fucking with somebody's shitty toilet, but that's not. But so that's it. So I get it. Now in my life at 42, I have family time now, but I always made sure, like with Landon, that I would always make time for him, whether I'm exhausted or not, sick as a dog, ready to die, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And now, like, at that executive chef level, whatever, going back to a smaller restaurant, Mike McDonough, who's great, he's my owner. Like tonight, I'm going to watch Landon sing the national anthem with his middle school chorus class, because he's in band and chorus and he loves it. I was an athlete. He's not. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not shoving anything down his throat.
Yeah.
And I'm also not against or for certain things in life. Like, you are going to make mistakes, son, and I will be there to pick you up, like my mom, dad did, and I will support you in any which way, shape, or form I can. And that's what a parent should be, and that's what it was. For me, for the most part, I mean, I didn't know. I don't think everybody has the most picturesque family. I mean, I would say you and your mom and your dad. I mean, those two are like the epitome of what the white picket fence and houses. Yeah. But I also didn't grow up in that household, so I don't know. I can see mom smacking the shit out of you once in a while, but that's necessary. Child abuse is different than reprimanding and making sure that you understand. Don't fucking do that again.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's what the reality of it is. And yeah, I mean, dude, I would come on here and sit with you every week and talk. Like,
fuck yeah, dude.
We could do it live. No editing, no nothing. I don't give a shit. You don't got to edit me out, man.
Yeah,
I have the shape of my game. But
well, we'll talk after and we'll get you something scheduled for next week.
But I'm glad I met you. Like I said, I've ran into you once or twice. I think maybe in passing with your dad, maybe once. But you come from a good stock of family. I mean, I don't know your brothers and all the rest of them, but I can praise that because your dad is probably he's my confidant when I'm having issues in my personal life and even business. Him and I can sit here just like this for hours.
Yeah,
and I fucking hate it because I'm like, it reminds me of my Uncle Donnie, and I get all sappy inside. But yeah, let's set up another day and we can come in and do a little more. I know because we talked for a good half hour before we started this to get to know each other, but.
Awesome. Thank you, Chef.
No, thanks. Thank you.